Oh, hey, I'm Joe Mack. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about how far I've gotten reading in the past 3 months and what I plan on reading next. So, 3 months of reading. I've read, I think, almost double digits in books. And it helps my case if you count each individual Murderbot Diaries novella and each individual book in the Neon Genesis Evangelion manga, which is the only thing not pictured back here because that belongs to one of my best friends, Kevin. So thank you for letting me borrow that, buddy. So, 3 months, we've read the Murderbot Diaries, the Neon Genesis Evangelion manga, as I just said. We read Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff. We read YouTuber Daniel Green's Neon Ghost, which was a pleasant surprise, I must say. I had a good time reading that one. We read Christopher Paolini's Fractal Noise. We read the entire trilogy for The First Law by Joe Abercrombie, my first audiobook, narrated by Stephen Pacey. Just an absolutely fantastic experience. We finished the Bloodsworn trilogy, and we read Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne. Last but not least, we read Book 6, Lightbringer, for Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I cannot wait for Red God. Very excited for that. But without further ado, let's start getting into what I plan on reading. So far this year, we've kept it pretty evenly spaced, I think, between sci-fi and fantasy. And I haven't really thought about that when purchasing new books or planning on what I'm going to read. It's just what's caught my eye. I asked earlier in the year if anyone had any recommendations, so I grabbed a book that was most recommended across all the platforms. So I'm excited to see if this is going to be more of a sci-fi or fantasy set of months moving forward. And then, I have some things that I don't plan on reading for a while. I bought it for a specific purpose. And not pictured here is what I'm listening to at the same time that I'll be physically reading. So I will pop that, somewhere on the screen at one point in post. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so I want to start with a couple months, it's only been 3 months. I think a month or so ago, I asked everybody if they had any book recommendations. I reposted that on the old TikTok and in shorts. I cut it up here on YouTube. And the most recommended book that I got was Project Hail Mary. A lot of people came up and they said that this was absolutely fantastic. They said that I should definitely read it. So I took their advice and I ordered it right away. I tried to go buy it at a store, but unfortunately it was sold out. So I ordered it off the old internet. It's a sci-fi book by Andy Weir, and let's read no, I don't want to read the back. I tried doing that last time. I had to speed my voice up because I read out loud too slow.
You're too slow.
I will read the pitch line. Project Hail Mary is a tale of discovery, speculation, and survival to rival The Martian, while taking us to places it never dreamed of going. What I'm the most excited about for Project Hail Mary is that it is a standalone book. Coming back into this, over the last 3 months, I've been finishing a lot of things that I had started in previous years. So it's been a lot of series reading, which I love. If you connect me to these characters, I want to know as much about them as possible and travel with them as far as I can, learn everything that I can. But strictly from a reading perspective, I'm really excited to get into some more standalones and to have what I'm setting out to do be less overbearing, knowing that I just have this one book to read and then I'm going to have the whole story and then I can move on to something else. There is so much going on in the literary world right now. And as there always has been, there's new books coming out all the time, but I just feel like there's so much stuff that people are reading that I want to read. For example, a lot of people are reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I know that there's a bunch of books in that series, but I am more or less refusing to pick it up because it's another big series. I got so much else that I want to get to. So very excited to get into this. Very excited to be reading some standalones. Speaking of coming back and finishing some series that I left off on, a couple of books that I picked up. R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt Stewart series of books. The last one I read was, I believe it's called Timeless. There's been a new trilogy since then, but I haven't read Boundless or Relentless, so I picked up these two. I own all the books in mass market paperback, and it's like 30 something books, I think. There's a lot of books. I own them all in mass market paperback, and I know that the series has moved away from mass market altogether with the Starlight Enclave and the other two books whose name I don't know off the top of my head. Timeless, I own in mass market paperback. I don't know if that was the last one they made. I tried to find these so that it could at least match until the new art style that they went with in all the trade paperbacks. So I found these on eBay, and they didn't specifically say the size or anything, but with the pictures, I thought that they were mass market. I'm not upset that they're not, because the art's still the same, and they're going back and they're redoing all the art through the entire series. I'll put that over my head so everyone can see what I'm talking about. But I am excited to get back to this. I love the Drizzt Do'Urden character. You know, it's a fun time to read those books. They're enjoyable. These are pretty short. Jarlaxle, one of the best characters in the whole series. I've some of my best arcs that have been in this have been with Artemis and Trary and Jarlaxle and away from the main crew. I think Drizzt gets a little bit of a bad rep sometimes for some Mary Sue aspects that he has, but what can you do? You know, it's to have a series as long running as this, things are going to work out. So I'm excited to get to these. I don't know when I'm going to. I bought these more to finish the collection, more than reading these right away. So these are kind of up in the air as far as when they're going to be slotted in. But I am happy to get them. I am happy to continue the collection on these. It's too bad as a consumer that they're not going to be the same size anymore. They're not even up on the shelves because there's so many of them. I have to vertically stack them. So I'm waiting until I do something new, and I'll get them out for everyone to see again. You know, and it's something that I'm actually, speaking of consumerism and publishers making books certain ways and collecting them in a certain light. I made the decision when I started my Stormlight journey and my Brandon Sanderson reading, to get the European covers, as you can see up here. All the white ones. I think they're very clean looking. I love the art on those. Nothing against the American covers. I think those are great too, but I was attracted to the white, really, and I thought it was very clean. And I'm super scared because the versions of the Stormlight archive that I have are splits. So they're, you know, it's the Way of Kings Part 1, Way of Kings Part 2. And up to this point, I mean, I've been looking probably every 2 weeks for some sort of update, and I don't see anything telling me that Wind and Truth is going to be split into a Part 1, Part 2. So I'm terrified that to finish off this first arc of Stormlight, it's going to change the way that my books look on the shelf. And I am anal enough about it that I might get rid of my Part 1 and Part 2s in order to acquire all of the, if they're only making them in single volumes, like they're all going to have to match. I don't know if I'll be able to live with myself if there's just one big tall fat boy up there along with everything else. And I think the spines are like a grayer color now as well. They're not even that pure white. So that'll kill me if they don't at least finish this first arc of Stormlight the same way that they did the other 4 books. But I digress. On to the next one. This next book has gotten some steam recently. It's been pretty popular. And seeing everyone read it, I said, hey, that sounds interesting. Every year for spooky season, you know, September and October up until Halloween, I reread Dracula, I reread Carmilla, and I read Vampire. When I did it last time, Empire the Vampire had just came out, so that was my additional vampire story that I read. This year, we are going to wait until spooky season, and we are going to read Tim Powers' The Stress of Her Regard. This was sold out on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, everywhere that I looked, probably because of how popular it's getting here on BookTube. So I went to eBay. I got this one secondhand. I really liked this cover. I'm very excited to read this. I have read some Tim Powers in the past. He's very good. I can't wait to see his take on vampires or whatever this happens to be. I know that it lists on the back, battling the vampiric fiend who seeks her ultimate pleasure in their ravaged bodies and imperiled souls. Byron, Keats, and Shelley are in it. So I haven't done too much. I haven't watched any of the reviews or anything on this book because I do really like vampires in a classical sense, and I want to see what his take is going to be. I know that he has another book as well called, it's like Among Her Grave, or let me check, let's see. Tim Powers, Hide Me Among the Graves, which I think is also somewhat vampire-y. Not 100% sure. Don't fact check me. But maybe I'll pick that one as well to read. So excited to read this in spooky season. And oh, while I'm talking about it, if you are a Dracula fan, if you like vampires, and you're excited for, all Nosferatu and all the Dracula stuff that have come out, total side note here as I'm rambling. But not a lot of people that I've talked to know of or have read a sequel to Dracula. It's obviously not written by Bram Stoker, but it is written the same way that Dracula was written, and that's Dracula's Child by J.S. Barnes. This was awesome. It's written in journal entries just the same way that Dracula was. This takes place a decade or so after the events of Dracula end. And I think if you like Dracula, if you like vampires, pick this up. This was a good time. So, side note, did not just get this, but as long as I'm talking about spooky season, this is a good one. Next up is one that I'm super excited to read. I'm a huge fan of Arthurian tales, and I recently did a lot of research trying to find stories that sounded like they were interesting to me, that take place in and or around King Arthur and Knights of the Round. And I found one. I was at a bookstore and they just so happened to have it. And not only did they have it because it is a series, but they had book one. And that is Mary Stewart's The Crystal Cave, the Arthurian Saga. I am super excited to read this. I love King Arthur. I love Merlin. I love everything going on in Arthurian tale. Lancelot, Sir Gawain. This is also a series. Let's see. This is a 4-book series, and it seems there's also a Merlin trilogy that she wrote that I will probably check out as well. So this is the Arthurian legend is first and foremost defined by literary classics such as Mary Stewart's beloved Crystal Cave, the USA Today. So just based on Arthurian legend, I went on Wikipedia and I read every single story based on King Arthur, and these sounded like some of the most interesting. I do want to also find Guy Gavriel Kay's Arthurian Saga stories. So very much looking forward to this. This is probably coming up pretty soon. Very excited for this one. Very happy to have found it. Feel very lucky that they had book one at the store. So awesome. So I saw Talking Stories interview with Janny Wurts some time ago, and she seemed so freaking cool. I wanted to read her so bad after I saw that. And I didn't want to get into her 13-book series. That's the theme really for today's video, is the overbearingness of getting into big series and being not my inability to detach from that until it's finished. So I did pick up and started To Ride Hell's Chasm by Janny Wurts. I'm only 3 chapters in so far. I was working midnights last week, and it was very tough for me to fit reading in. But so far, 3 chapters. I absolutely love her writing style. As everyone said, it is very immersive. It is not written with the reader in mind. It is written as it should be, as the characters are talking. It is written for the story, and I love that about it. I'm also very excited that it's a standalone, so I can get a little bit of Janny. I can figure out if I'm going to like her if I'm going to like reading her writing, and then if I will jump into the Wars of Light and Shadow by her. So very excited for this. This is probably gonna take me a little while. I probably won't be done with this for probably at least another 2 weeks or so. So hopefully in the meantime I finish something that I can review. But this is what I'm reading now, To Ride Hell's Chasm by Janny Wurts. Last, but certainly not least, one of the things that I've been waiting for, that I was most excited to get, and it just so happened to show up when I needed to make a video like this. The Murdered Son by Christopher Ruocchio. This is the draft that Christopher sold to the publisher that eventually would become Book 1, Empire of Silence. So I believe the words that he uses inside this book is that it is an apocryphal testament of Hadrian Marlowe. I am doing a reread of Sun Eater, but the way that I'm doing it so that I can continue to read new stuff, and because of my newfound love for audiobooks, is that I am listening to Sun Eater narrated for the first time by Samuel Ruocchio. So I cannot read this at the same time as I'm listening to Empire of Silence, because I'm sure that would be extremely confusing for me and I would start mixing things up. But the second that I finish Empire of Silence, before moving on to Howling Dark, I am going to read this so that I can compare the two with the freshest of information up in my head. So far in the audiobook, I am that far. So a little over halfway. So happy to be back into Sun Eater. I'm going to listen to the first 5 books, going all the way through Ashes of Man, because those are the ones that I've read. I have not read Disquiet Gods. Because of Shadows Upon Time coming out, I want that to be fresh, so I wanted to get my whole reread in, and then I will read Disquiet Gods for the first time at the end of my reread first listen, and hopefully I can time this all going right into Shadows Upon Time. But I'm very excited to see where Christopher started and what changed, names, places, events, what happened for this to become Empire of Silence. And, Anderwriter Books just absolutely kills it with all of their special editions. They're some of my favorites. The quality of the paper, feel of the paper, the weight of the book, it's just all of them feel so dense. They're so awesome. If you didn't see my unboxing short that I made, I will show you guys just a little bit of this. There's the art. And then on the cloth bound, we have, very awesome, have a map. And there's a gorgeous piece of art in here I'll show you guys of a high matter sword. Sorry, I don't want it to be glared. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, seeing what I'm going to be reading soon. Thank you for recommending Project Hail Mary. I can't wait to read it and let you guys know what I think. It's been a great 3 months so far. We've read a lot. We've accomplished a lot. I look forward to continuing this journey, continuing reading, and keeping up with it. So let me know. What are you guys reading? Get in those comments. Love you. Bye. All right, it's safe. Didn't get hurt.